I was carrying a bag of groceries from my previous tenant when I ran into the last person I expected to see outside this rundown apartment complex. The man stared at the vegetables in my hands, his expression a mix of disbelief and pity, as if he couldn't fathom how far I'd fallen since leaving him. Following his gaze, I instinctively shifted the bag behind my back that I glanced down at the muddy puddles on the cracked pavement, wondering how my silver spoon ex-boyfriend had ended up in this forgotten corner of Brooklyn. Something flickered in his eyes. Was it sympathy, understanding? His jaw tightened. I see you've learned your lesson. Come back with me, Emma. I took an involuntary step backward. Why would I go anywhere with you? My rejection darkened his features. I know you're still angry about the baby with Sophie, but it's been 3 years. Haven't you punished me enough? Come home, and everything can go back to how it was. 3 years, had it really been that long? I thought of my babbling toddler waiting at home and shook my head with a bitter smile. Go back to Sophie, Nathan. My daughter needs her dinner. Chapter 1. Nathan grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in with desperate force. Emma, I know you're still upset about what happened, but I came back for you. Can't we just move past this? He clearly didn't believe I'd remarried or had a child. After all, everyone in Manhattan knew how inseparable we'd been. We were the couple everyone envied on social media, the perfect pair who couldn't stand to be apart. From 16 to 26, from high school hallways to wedding planning, we only had eyes for each other. 10 years of being each other's everything. Until our wedding week. On our 10th anniversary, Sophie returned from studying abroad in London. I watched Nathan's eyes light up when he saw her. Of course they did. Sophie had been groomed at elite European boarding schools, carrying herself with an effortless grace that made everyone gravitate toward her. My chest tightened with an unfamiliar ache. That inexplicable pain drove me to hide in the bathroom during the party. Through the door, I heard the caterers gossiping. You can tell she's not from money, nothing like the Harrison heiress. Why would someone like Nathan settle for her? Another voice chimed in with cruel amusement. She's been clinging to him for 10 years. He probably felt obligated to propose. Separated by a thin door, I couldn't tell if they meant for me to hear, but I was too humiliated to leave, when their voices finally faded. I limped back to the living room, having twisted my ankle in my haste to escape. Nathan frowned at my disheveled appearance. What took you so long? But his attention immediately shifted back to Sophie, his expression softening. Sophie and I were just discussing dinner plans. She's been craving authentic American food after being away so long. Together, my mind latched onto that word while the rest of his explanation became white noise. I forced myself to speak carefully. But Nathan, today is your 10th anniversary, right? Nathan mentioned it. Sophie interrupted smoothly. I'm so sorry for intruding on your special day. Her words dripped with false regret, barely concealing her satisfaction and a hint of disdain. Ignoring her, I looked directly at Nathan. Do we have to go together? He frowned almost imperceptibly before pulling me aside. Emma, Sophie rarely visits. She'll be gone in a few days. We can celebrate our anniversary later. I stared at him, unsure how to respond to this casual dismissal. Nathan took my silence as agreement and waved Sophie toward the door. In the garage, our driver apologized profusely. I'm sorry, sir, all the other cars are in for service. Only your sports car is available. While Nathan hesitated, Sophie had already slipped into the passenger seat. Is this new, Nathan? Very sleek. Nathan looked at me with guilty eyes. Emma, why don't you head home? We'll celebrate properly another time. He kissed my forehead, a gesture meant to placate while his body language screamed for me to leave. The memory made my stomach turn. I glared at Nathan with fresh irritation, but he misread it entirely, probably remembering how devoted I used to be. He examined the vegetables in my hand with smug satisfaction. Clearly you're not doing well. Here's my offer, apologize, and you can come back. Sophie's health is fragile. She needs someone to take care of her. His arrogance made me nauseous. How had I ever been in love with this man? I was about to tell him the truth about my life when he cut me off. Don't act like you're too good for this. Look at yourself. He pulled out a familiar box from his pocket. My blood ran cold. Chapter 2. After Sophie returned from Europe, she wedged herself into every aspect of my relationship with Nathan. Eventually, I needed her permission just to see my own boyfriend. On my birthday, when Nathan walked into the restaurant, I glanced behind him coldly. Is Sophie not joining us today? Embarrassment flashed across his face. What are you talking about? Sophie and I aren't what you think. I was too exhausted to argue. Whatever I asked you here to. Before I could say, break up, his phone rang with a soft, sultry ringtone. A woman singing. Sophie's voice, intimate and seductive, clearly meant for a lover. My face drained of color. Nathan realized his mistake too late. Sophie's panicked voice came through the speaker. Nathan, I accidentally broke the jade pendant in your room. My heart sank. The only jade pendant in Nathan's room was the one I'd given him. Late foster parents' only legacy to me, our promise to each other. Nathan's panic confirmed my fears. What pendant? But his next words shattered my last illusion. The pendant doesn't matter. Sophie, are you hurt? He grabbed his keys and rushed toward the door. Don't touch anything, I'm coming home right now. I caught his arm. What pendant? The one I gave you. My eyes pleaded for reassurance, but Nathan had no patience for my emotions. Stop being so controlling. He disappeared into the rain without a backward glance. Now, looking at the box in his hand, I maintained my cold stare. Nathan opened it sheepishly, revealing my parents' jade pendant shattered into 8 pieces, beyond repair. He coughed awkwardly, finally remembering that Sophie had destroyed it years ago. Emma, it's just broken jade, come back with me and I'll buy you 10 pendants. There it was, his attitude toward me, as disposable as a weed. I brushed his hand away calmly. No need, since I'm not your conquest anymore. Stop wasting your time on me. After Nathan left me at the altar for Sophie, I'd completely written him off. Now I just wanted him out of my life. But life is never that simple. A familiar voice called out behind us. Nathan, what's going on here? Sophie. Chapter 3. Nathan immediately forgot about me the moment he saw Sophie. Sophie, why are you out here? Aren't you feeling unwell? He shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. The gesture that once would have devastated me now left me completely unmoved. But Sophie wasn't as calm. Seeing Nathan holding my hand, her face darkened. Though she answered his questions, her eyes bore into me with barely concealed hatred. I heard the investor Michael Chen lives in this neighborhood, that I wanted to try our luck, see if he'd help your company. Nathan's eyes warmed at her thoughtfulness. After all these years, you still know me best. Their display made me sick that I turned to leave. But Nathan grabbed me again, pulling me towards Sophie. Sophie, you should go home. That I'll wait here for Mr. Chen. Since Emma's here, she can come back with us. She can help take care of you. Perfect. Sophie's smile didn't reach her eyes. Emma's always been so good at service work that I'd feel so much better with her help. Even after 3 years, Sophie knew exactly how to humiliate me. That my face burned with anger, but Nathan dismissed it as jealousy. Stop being difficult. That I'm offering you a job. You should be grateful. Sophie needs care right now, otherwise, we really don't need another housekeeper. I laughed coldly. Save yourselves the trouble. Michael Chen won't invest in your company. I'd heard about Nathan's failing business, his desperate search for investors, that I just hadn't expected him to target my husband. Nathan's face turned thunderous. Who do you think you are, Emma? You know nothing about my business. Suddenly, Sophie gasped, pointing at my clothes. Nathan, Luke's wearing designer clothing. That's from the Chen collection. Indeed, all of Michael's family wore custom-tailored clothes with a small embroidered cat the hem. Nathan's expression grew uglier as he examined my outfit. So that's it, that you've latched onto the Chen family. Being their maid is better than working for me? His voice dripped with venom. Fine, get us into the Chen estate, and I'll give you the wedding you always wanted. That I know it's your biggest regret. I nearly laughed out loud. Nathan had no idea that after he fled with Sophie, I'd immediately called Michael to complete our wedding ceremony. But I had no interest in explaining that. I shook off his hand coldly. Not interested, leave. That I need to get home. Nathan moved to stop me again when Sophie suddenly cried out. Nathan, isn't that Mr. Chen? Chapter 4. I turned to see Michael walking toward us, our twin daughters in his arms. My face lit up with a genuine smile that I was about to call out when Sophie grabbed me. What are you doing, Emma? Nathan's attention snapped back to me as Sophie pulled anxiously at his sleeve. Nathan, she's going to badmouth us to Mr. Chen. He'll believe her she works for his family. Understanding her implication, Nathan gripped my other arm. You're not going anywhere. Sophie started dragging me away. Quick, get her out of here. I struggled against them. Let go, I'm Michael Chen's. Slap. Sophie's hand cracked across my face before I could finish. Were you going to say you're Mr. Chen's wife, as if you could ever be? She backhanded me for good measure. You deserve this. I touched my stinging cheek, looking at them with ice in my veins. You're both finished. Nathan frowned, about to speak, when he noticed Michael approaching the building entrance. That he yanked me up roughly, hissing, Mr. Chen is coming, watch what you say or else. I rubbed my swollen face, disgusted by the man I once loved. Michael had spotted me and was walking over, our daughters squirming to get down. They'd seen me too and broke free, running toward me with outstretched arms. Nathan turned to me desperately. Emma, if you stop making Sophie jealous, I'll forgive you for deceiving me all those years. I'll give you another chance that we can have that wedding properly this time. That I won't run off with Sophie again. I said nothing, my eyes fixed on my approaching daughters. They crashed into my arms, their voices ringing out clearly in the evening air. Mommy. Seeing my face, both girls' eyes immediately welled up with tears. Mommy's face is red. Our older daughter reached out with her chubby little hand to touch my cheek, but the moment her fingertips brushed the swollen skin, she burst into tears. Did bad people hurt Mommy? Our younger daughter's lips trembled as fat tears rolled down onto my clothes. Does Mommy hurt? Wah. Both children clung to my legs, sobbing hysterically, their little bodies shaking like leaves in the wind. Michael rushed over in 3 strides, his suit sleeves wrinkled from running. He crouched down and cupped my face with hands so gentle it was like he was afraid I'd shatter, but the fire in his eyes could have incinerated someone. Who did this? Michael's voice was ice cold, the vein at his temple throbbing visibly. Nathan actually stepped forward, bowing and scraping with a sycophantic smile. Mr. Chen, please don't misunderstand, this is our former housekeeper. She probably upset my partner by being clumsy. Sophie quickly chimed in, pitching her voice to sound delicate. Yes, Mr. Chen, we were just disciplining the help. That we didn't mean to cause a scene. Michael didn't even spare them a glance. That he pulled me into his arms, his large hand protectively covering my injured cheek, his thumb stroking gently with infinite tenderness. The help? He suddenly laughed coldly, turning to look at the 2 self-important fools. Open your damn eyes, Michael's voice wasn't loud, but it struck like thunder. She is my wife, Michael Chen's legally wedded wife, and the mother of these 2 children. Nathan's smile froze like plaster, his lips trembling for several seconds without closing. Sophie screamed and stumbled backward, her heel catching on a stone. She fell sprawling into a puddle of muddy water. No. Impossible. She pointed at me, her finger nearly jabbing my face. She was just a desperate nobody clinging to you back then. How could she marry you? Michael didn't bother explaining. That he pulled out his phone, swiped twice, and shoved the screen in their faces. It was our family photo from our 3rd anniversary, taken against the floor-to-ceiling windows of our mansion. The girl sat on his shoulders while I leaned against him, beaming. Nathan stared at the pigeon egg diamond on my ring finger in the photo, then at the embroidered hem of my designer dress, and suddenly collapsed like his bones had dissolved. Sophie's eyes rolled back, nearly fainting, her hand still pointed at me, shaking like an autumn leaf. She was too terrified to form complete sentences, her makeup running in the rain, leaving clear tear tracks. Michael didn't spare them another glance, carefully helping me to my feet. Let's go home, darling. Don't let the trash pollute your eyes. The girls immediately grabbed my legs again. Our older daughter called out in her sweet baby voice, Daddy, hit the bad people. The younger one waved her tiny fists, beat up the bullies who hurt Mommy. Hearing the children, Michael glanced back at the pair. Mr. Blackwood, I hope you're prepared for the consequences of your actions. Chapter 6. Michael's words exploded like a bell toll in Nathan's ears that he scrambled over on his hands and knees to apologize. Mr. Chen, I was wrong. Emma, please say something for me. I stared into Nathan's eyes and laughed coldly. Do you think I'll always be that fool you could summon and dismiss at will? My voice was quiet, but it pierced Nathan like an ice pick. Did you think I couldn't survive without you, that I'd be scavenging vegetables in rundown neighborhoods? Nathan instinctively reached for me but froze mid-gesture. Emma, let me explain, that's not what I meant. Not what you meant? I stepped forward, forcing him to stumble back. That I don't deserve to marry Michael, or that I should waste my life pining for your pathetic affection? I pointed at my bruised face, then at the terrified Sophie. Look at this, you brought your mistress to beg my husband for investment, then wanted me to be your housekeeper. Nathan's face flushed red then white, his lips trembling speechlessly. On our 10th anniversary, you took Sophie to dinner and left me alone in the parking garage. My voice grew louder as 3 years of suppressed anger erupted. The jade pendant I gave Yumi parents' heirloom. Sophie broke it and you only cared if her hand was hurt. Sophie shrieked from the ground. He chose to shut up. I whirled on her. When he ran from our wedding with you, why didn't you mention choice then? Nathan fell to his knees in the mud, splashing my pants. Emma, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. He grabbed at my pant leg, eyes full of panic. Don't you remember, we were together since we were 16, all those years of love. Love? I kicked him away. Where was that love when you ran off with Sophie? I bent down and picked up the broken jade pieces, cutting my finger on the sharp edges. Look, this is your so-called love, as shattered as this pendant, impossible to piece back together. Blood dripped onto Nathan's hand, making him shake with fear. Aren't you devoted to Sophie? I threw the broken jade at his face. Then why are you begging me? Sophie suddenly lunged from the ground, trying to grab my hair. Emma, don't be so vindictive, you're just jealous that Nathan loves me. Jealous that he loves you? I laughed coldly. Fine, whatever you say. I sidestepped her easily as Michael pulled me into his arms. That he looked down at my bleeding finger, his eyes arctic. Mr. Blackwood. Michael pulled out his phone and swiped. Your company's bankruptcy filing. Ivy had my lawyers expedite it. Nathan stared at the screen, his eyes bulging like a cartoon character. Sophie screamed and fainted, collapsing in the mud like a dead fish. I leaned against Michael, watching Nathan's pathetic form, and suddenly felt incredibly bored by it all. Let's go. I tugged Michael's sleeve. Time to make dinner for the girls. Our daughters immediately hugged my legs, calling Mommy in their sweet voices. Michael swept me up in his arms, his hand gently covering my injured cheek. If anyone ever hurts you again, I'll break every bone in their body. I buried my face in his chest and smiled, though tears secretly fell. This time, I'd finally chosen right. Chapter 7. Nathan chased after us like a beaten dog, but security stopped him at the gate within 2 steps. He clung to the villa's railings, covered in mud, banging his forehead against the gate. Emma, Mr. Chen, I really know I was wrong, please have mercy. This time, we didn't even bother looking back. A luxury car happened to pass by, its tires splashing through a puddle and coating Nathan's face with muddy water. Nathan collapsed in the rain, beating his chest, looking exactly like that jade pendant he'd let get shattered years ago. From that day on, Nathan haunted us like a ghost that if he wasn't lurking at the villa entrance with wilted roses, he was blocking the kindergarten trying to give candy to the children. Once he even showed up with a knife threatening self-harm, only to be tossed 10 feet away by security like a rag doll. Michael didn't even look up from where he sat on the couch, peeling apples for our daughters with me in his arms. The more attention you give people like that, the more they push. The girls buried their faces in my neck, their little voices trembling. The bad man is scary. What Nathan didn't know was that Michael's phone call that day at the apartment complex had sealed his fate. Within 3 days, Blackwood Corporation's stock price plummeted like a roller coaster, bank collection calls burned up the phone lines, suppliers blockaded the company demanding payment, and even their housekeeper ran off with her belongings. Nathan aged visibly, his hair half white, camping outside our office building daily, dropping to his knees whenever he saw me. Emma, for the sake of our 10 years together, please ask Mr. Chen to show mercy. I walked past him holding my daughter's hands, my heel pressing down on his outstretched fingers. Hearing him gasp in pain, I felt nothing. 10 years together, where were those 10 years when he fled our wedding with Sophie, when Sophie shattered my family heirloom? Now he wanted to beg, too late. Michael moved faster than I expected. He merely mentioned at a board meeting that Blackwood's credit is questionable, and within 2 weeks, the courts had sealed Nathan's company. On the day of bankruptcy proceedings, Nathan stood in his wrinkled suit before what used to be his office building, watching excavators tear down the company sign. He suddenly broke down sobbing. He cried harder than I had when he abandoned me at our wedding. But what did that have to do with me? I was vacationing in the Maldives with Michael, our younger daughter giggling like a duckling as she dipped her toes in the ocean. My phone buzzed with a news alert, the headline glaring: Blackwood Corporation bankrupt, ex-girlfriend Sophie Harrison flees abroad with funds. In the photo, Sophie dragged designer luggage through the airport, smiling smugly beside a blonde foreigner. Michael took my phone, glanced at it, and tossed it into the beach bag before pulling me close and kissing my forehead. Birds of a feather, she and Nathan deserve each other. I looked up at him questioningly. So we just let Sophie get away? Michael gently stroked my hair. Of course not, that I haven't forgotten that slap she gave you. Then what? Michael pulled me closer, kissing my forehead again. That depends on what Nathan does. Chapter 8. Michael finally spoke when Nathan showed up at our villa gates again. That he leaned against the car door, phone in hand, showing surveillance footage of Sophie at Charles de Gaulle Airport, the blonde man's arm around her waist as they headed for the VIP lounge. Mr. Blackwood, Michael's tone was as casual as discussing weather. Begging me is useless, your precious Sophie took your company's last liquid assets that she's currently enjoying afternoon tea in Paris. Nathan was stunned, his mud-caked hands gripped the iron railings, dirt still under his nails from when security had thrown him out last time, his lips trembled like autumn leaves. What did you say? Sophie clearly said she went abroad to raise money for me. I said. Michael held the phone closer to his face. She took your remaining money and ran off with her new man. The word struck Nathan like lightning that he suddenly remembered the accountant crying about empty company accounts during liquidation, Sophie's disgusted look the last time she saw him, how he'd harassed Emma for Sophie's sake only to be destroyed by Michael. He'd been played for a fool from beginning to end. Sophie. Nathan roared like a wounded beast and ran toward the street. He didn't even bother with a car, jumping into a taxi to the airport. The driver almost refused him, seeing his crazed state. In the Paris hotel suite, Sophie was trying on a new diamond necklace in the mirror, the blonde man embracing her from behind, whispering sweet nothings. Baby, now that we're rich, we can go anywhere we want. Sophie laughed delightedly, about to respond when bang, the door was kicked open. Nathan stood in the doorway like a vengeful ghost, hair wild, eyes bloodshot, clutching a fruit knife he'd grabbed from a kitchen. He'd bought it at a convenience store near the airport, the blade glinting coldly. Sophie. His voice was hoarse. Give me back my money. Sophie screamed, hiding behind the foreigner. Nathan, how did you find me? Alan, make him leave. The man frowned, moving to push Nathan away. Who are you? Get out. Nathan ignored him, focused only on Sophie's lying face that he remembered ruining things with Emma for her, fleeing their wedding for her, destroying his family fortune for her, only to be discarded like an ATM. Rage exploded through Nathan's skull. My money. He waved the knife, lunging past the man toward Sophie. In the chaos, Sophie screamed and pushed him. You're insane, that money was mine, you're worthless. Worthless? Nathan laughed through his tears. I became worthless for you, and you used my money to keep another man. His eyes wild, he thrust the knife forward. The blade pierced flesh with a sickening sound. Blood instantly soaked Sophie's white dress. She looked down at the knife in her stomach, eyes wide, slowly crumpling to the floor. The foreigner scrambled to the corner in terror, fumbling for his phone to call police. Nathan's knife clattered to the floor, looking at Sophie in a pool of blood. His madness faded to blank confusion. Sophie barely survived after a night of emergency surgery, but the blade had damaged her spinal nerves. The doctor said even if she recovered, she'd be paralyzed for life, dependent on others. She lay in the ICU, tubes everywhere, her once perfect face pale and swollen, staring blankly at the ceiling, unable even to cry. Nathan was immediately arrested by Parisian police. Assault with a deadly weapon plus illegal possession of a controlled weapon. Multiple charges meant a long prison sentence. They say in detention he alternated between calling Sophie's name and crying that he deserved it. When news reached me, I was in the garden with Michael and the children. Our younger daughter tucked a daisy behind my ear, cooing, "Mommy pretty." Michael handed me warm milk, his fingers brushing my cheek. Nathan's been sentenced, he said calmly. Sophie's paralyzed. My hand paused holding the milk that I watched our girls chase butterflies across the lawn, sunlight warming their little bodies. I felt, nothing much, like seeing a dead tree finally fall. You knew it would happen eventually, just not so, dramatically. 10 years together, when he ran from our wedding with Sophie, those 10 years shattered like my jade pendant, now the broken pieces had simply scattered further. I see. I sipped my milk and smiled at Michael. Time for the girls' snack. I'll go cut some fruit. Michael caught my hand, kissing it gently, eyes tender. I'll help. We walked into the kitchen together, sunlight streaming through windows, stretching our shadows long. The outside world, those people, none of it mattered anymore. All I knew was the milk in my hands was warm, the man beside me was real, the children in my arms were laughing. That was enough. As for Nathan and Sophie, their ending was simply the fruit of seeds they'd sown. A sigh, perhaps, but mostly relief. Relief that I'd crawled out of that cesspool long ago, relief that everything I had now was genuine happiness.